Where in the world did this brand come from? It seems like it popped up overnight. And how are we seeing a new drone brand out of nowhere that can compete with what you really only could get from a DJI drone, who has no competitors because of how far ahead it is in the drone industry? All of a sudden, we have what looks exactly like DJI's Mini 4 Pro. It flies like it, films like it, it's yellow. It will do pretty much everything the Mini 4 Pro will do to the same caliber, but there are a few things that are missing. And all of this is happening amidst DJI fears of being banned from the United States government because of the toddlers that are running it, which, by the way, is not a ban from using them. It's just a ban from DJI being able to sell directly to consumers in the United States. But the timing is really uncanny. So first of all, let's look at this X1 side by side with the Mini 4 Pro. You know, when you have a Corgi mixed with another breed and it kind of just looks like a Corgi in disguise, that is what this feels like looking at this X1. So side by side with the Mini 4 Pro, can it really compete? Where's this thing cutting corners? I think that's everybody's biggest fear, given that almost every single other brand of drone out there on the market is selling something outright sketchy that might just explode in the air. I mean, catch fire and fall on some kid's head. Or they're trying their best, but they really just can't compete, especially not for the price. I have already reviewed the S1 from Skyrover. That's the first drone I used from them. I was super blown away by the S1. I mean, for $350, that is the best thing out right now. Nothing else in that price range will beat it right now, but that was really insane to see. And also, this is the first time I'm going out of my way to review a different drone manufacturer, because this is the first time anybody else has put out something good in a long time. When you have a YouTube channel, people are trying to get you to review their products all the time. And some drones I've been kind of excited and then had to just outright change my mind and send it back because it's just flat out unsafe to use. So the only reason I'm doing a new brand, other than Autel, which just dropped out of making consumer drones, by the way, because they couldn't compete and they're going to focus on like utility stuff. Other than them, this is the first time I found another brand that can perform to this level. So this X1 drone, it's a 1/1.3 f1.7 sensor. It shoots 4K 100 frames per second footage. That matches the specs on the Mini 4 Pro. For color profiles, there is normal profile and HLG, which HLG is for recording Rec 2020 footage. It's HDR, you know, the ones that like adjust automatic brightness and it makes your phone screen really bright at nighttime when you're watching Instagram reels. I always say 95% of what I shoot is in normal profile, but that 5% of the time, using that professional feature, D-Log M, like on the Mini 4 Pro, it's not here. So I wonder what the decision was when almost everything matches except having D-Log M. It's not on the X1. It will do a hyperlapse. It'll fly really far away. It can shoot raw format photos, 12 megapixels, 48 megapixels as well. I mean, that's the claim, and I never agree with that. We'll get into that. H.265 footage, manual video controls, panoramic photos, follow me modes, omnidirectional obstacle avoidance sensors, and the bottom sensors are infrared as well. So I reviewed these backwards because I already did the S1, but that one was brand new. The X1 has been out since like September, and that was the drone that really put Skyrover on the radar. I mean, started getting people excited on the internet because they couldn't believe they were getting this thing to get footage the way it does. But the S1, I could tell right away, new body, new everything. Opening up the X1, I can tell you immediately out of instinct, yes, this is to a T the Mini 4 Pro. The same body, same shell, material, weight, although the head doesn't have a detaching face like the Mini 4 Pro does. But with everything else, they're clearly sourcing these things from the same factory. Wherever this is being manufactured for the Mini 4 Pro, it's coming from the same place for the X1. Now, who is making that decision is the real mystery. Is it DJI pretending to be somebody else? Is it a brand new company in Malaysia? Because that's where I'm getting this drone sent to me from. So clearly their headquarters is in Malaysia. That remains to be figured out. The head will also turn sideways on this drone. So if you want to get vertical footage, yes, you can do that. You have that option. That was always unique to the Minis, and now this one will do it too. The batteries are different between these drones, and the DJI equipment in general, the controller also doesn't work with the X1. The software looks different when you start it up, but the layout is the same icons, the same placement of every setting. Is this because this is the standard that DJI built and everybody uses generic drone software that comes like this? Or is it because it's just a DJI firmware in disguise and the software is identical, they just changed a couple things in there so that nobody can tell legally? I don't know. But then why go out of the way to make all new software and then put icons identically exactly the same? That should be the first thing and the easiest thing to change, so we know what that Blue's Clue kind of means. It's the same as with the S1 in some spots. It's like they copied DJI's homework and changed some answers, not so that the teacher couldn't tell that they copied the answers, but just enough so that in a court of law, they couldn't technically prove without a shred of a doubt that this wasn't just a coincidence. So the footage quality, which is why we're here, the S1 was a trip because that thing with a worse equipment on it got footage nearly the quality of the Mini 4 Pro. In some cases better, I mean, at least in the daytime. Not at nighttime though. Nighttime is where it lacked because it was a smaller sensor with a different aperture. Side by side against the Mini 4 Pro, we're starting out with dynamic range under this tree because there's tons of highlights and lots of shadow at the same time. And this is the exact same shot, same thing. I did another one to test dynamic range facing me, so this is a harder shot because the sun is behind us, and I accidentally left the X1 in HLG, so if there's a color difference, sorry about that, but in general, similar results. So let's back up and see how the exposure balancing is with the landscape shot. And it's again, it's the same thing. This is the same shot. So this made things really unfun to do for a side-by-side because there's not any discrepancy I need to go find there, like which one's better, which one's worse. It's the same thing. Same exposure balancing, same dynamic range, contrast, everything. I also noticed that immediately I could tell this X1 came with the same default settings as the Mini 4 Pro on DJI. Something I don't like. I hate that every drone manufacturer has the world's most go-kart rigid settings, and the S1 was the first drone ever in my life that I've picked up, and it had intuitive, comfortable flight controls. Like there's cushioning to the start and stop, the braking, the yaw and the gimbal, had soft, steady movement, not just from Cinemode, I mean like all the time, and I didn't have to adjust the settings. To this day, I'm still using the default settings with the S1. The X1 did not have that, and I'm thinking it's because the X1 came out first, so maybe they were just doing some market research. Do people want to buy this thing? And then now that they're like, yeah, they do, this will work, they're going to put some more effort into designing things differently, which I hope is what's happening. I hope they, take off and do their own thing, because there were just enough differences in the way the S1 behaved to make me think that they did have to do some work there. Not with the X1. I've had to make the same exact numbers, increments, adjustments, everything in the settings to make it behave the way I want it to where I'm comfortable flying this thing in normal and in Cinemode. The S1 is using a 1/2-inch sensor at f2.8. This X1, like the Mini 4 Pro, is using 1/1.3-inch sensor at f1.7. It has a larger sensor, which means better low light, and it has a higher aperture, which means better low light. And this was immediately noticeable since the last drone I flew in this exact spot was the S1, and it was not the drone for the job as soon as the sun was down. The X1 was really refreshing to see a big improvement in the shadows and the clarity. No really grainy shadows or obvious noisy alteration to the image. Again, that's to be expected from the Mini 4 Pro camera, which this thing clearly is using. Dynamic range overall is really satisfying, coupled with the exposure balancing, which I don't know who to even credit for at this point, but it will do a good job even just filming in auto. Long exposure photos, of course, look wonderful because drone photography technology is way ahead of video for the most part. It'll do a hyperlapse really well. It'll record 12 megapixel raw format photos if you set it up that way and then edit them manually the way I do. And this is a whole special setup to make it like way higher quality than the app made one, because the app made one always looks booty. It doesn't matter which drone manufacturer you pick. Of course, this was using 1/3 of a second shutter, which is the lowest option on a hyperlapse. I really need 1/2 a second shutter, so that sucks that DJI and Skyrover both aren't doing that, because that's what I always used and always loved. That's the best setting in my opinion, but we work with what we can, so 1/3 of a second shutter, that's what we have to do. You have the same options for hyperlapse and particular settings like duration and intervals, but you do not have multiple modes of hyperlapse the way you do on DJI, which has like waypoints. Normally I do waypoints. Fly into spot 1, set a bookmark, fly it back to the second spot and set a bookmark, and it'll just move slowly over 8 seconds worth of hyperlapse photos for me. At this point, you just have to aim in a direction, set the speed, and then go, and it'll just fly in that direction. It works. I mean, you can do it, but it's just a little more limited. Remember way back in my list when I had 48 megapixel raw photos listed? This is something I will be in a fight with until the end of time with every camera manufacturer on earth. They use something called quad Bayer, which is 4 mini pixels working together, which means 4 times the resolution if you split up 1 pixel into 4. It's not that simple. A 12 megapixel sensor split into 4 is still a 12 megapixel sensor worth of data. You don't suddenly have 48 megapixels. The file is much bigger for the 48 megapixels, so there's definitely more resolution there. But even at 20 megapixels, it should be smoking, like clearly way sharper than the 12 megapixel. Not a little bit, but like a massive amount. We should be able to read the newspaper in these people's room. This would matter if the sensor size was bigger. When you get to 1 inch or bigger, then yeah, you can tell the difference, but otherwise no. That second color profile that comes with this thing, HLG, that is for shooting 10-bit footage for HDR as well. So the color space is Rec 2100. If you don't know what all that stuff means, it's not even really important. Like, don't worry about it. It's so much technical screwing around, you're gonna mess up somewhere along the way. It's not something you just pull out your butt overnight. You have to practice practice. It's like an HDR workflow with an HDR monitor, something professionals want. I don't think the workflow is that seamless yet that I find this crucial, because I can record in HLG and then wind up showing somebody on a regular non-HDR monitor. So not super exciting to me yet. I know that technology is still new and people are working on it. I just don't want it to come out funky looking. So I'm not particularly looking for that. I think if anything, HLG was to throw in something that's like, whoa, look at this cool HDR thing we can do. But if you're going to pick one or the other, I think D-Log-M would have been more important. So I wonder what the decision was not to put that in. Is it just too difficult or what? If you have to ask what D-Log-M is, you're not going to miss it when it's gone. So it takes a lot of screwing around with, learning how it works, color grading, downloading the LUTs that the manufacturer gives you, and then, using editing software to add the color and then adjust it. It's a whole editing workflow you need to learn how to do. So it's not as simple and cool as it sounds off the bat, but normal profile is what I'm using on pretty much most drones 95% of the time anyway. And if you need to do any adjusting, there's still enough data in this footage to be able to make any repairs or fixes you need to if something's wrong, if it's a little blue or a little dark. So there's plenty there data wise to work with in normal profile. I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't have D-Log-M. It's just a nice to have. The range, good news, it's safe. Here's me flying from Arizona to New Mexico and not a hiccup. I'm out in the middle of the desert, so this is a good environment for this. This has more to do with what you're surrounded by. If you've got a bunch of metal around you or it's sitting behind a giant rock or a building or something, yes, you're gonna have issues. But here, the top right, the RC stays 5 bars the whole time. I didn't even have any stuttering with the remote, so yes, this thing works just like a Mini 4 Pro would. Obstacle avoidance does work as intended. It sees this tree in front of it and it halts, and no matter how much I pull the throttle forward, it's not going into that tree. What is impressive though is that it also noticed these little fine sticks and leaves. So when I started going up, it had an issue with it. When I started going sideways and there was a leaf in the way, a little twig, it didn't notice that. I noticed it has more tolerance though than the Mini 4 Pro. Like Mini 4 Pro is having issues 15 feet away. This thing will let me get close and it'll just decelerate really hard and brake to a stop, which I do appreciate a lot more. I don't want this thing stopping me 20 feet away. Active track, I do want to do an actual test with, because I'm pretty sure if there's anywhere they're going to cut a corner, this is a thing that DJI does very well. It would be easy to screw this up. So far so good following my truck. I did gun it a little bit towards the end in this neighborhood, and I went, not saying I went 30 miles an hour, but it just looks that way. And it did follow me. And when I came to an end and I turned around, it didn't get confused what I was doing or where I was going. And it didn't drift over into a stoplight or a telephone wire, which I'm happy with. It just resumed following me from a different angle, and not a hiccup, not an issue. The remote's inside a car, which is metal, and it's moving. So it is doing a good job of staying connected, and I can see everything fine inside the car as well. There are some one-button film modes to make things easy for you so that the camera is super stable and you don't have to think about it. The first one is Droney, and that takes it straight back and keeps you in the center of the focus. I stopped mine early here, so I didn't hit a tree, but you get the point. Next one is Rocket, and that just takes the drone straight up in the air and looks down at the ground. Then there's Circle, which is just a circle. It orbits you and then goes back to where it started. Helix is like a tornado. It's flying away from you and increasing distance and height at the same time. Another time, I did not want to get too far and hit a tree though, so I just cut it a little bit short, but you get where it's going. And then this heifer, the last one, will take the drone straight up in the air. It does a panoramic photo and stitches that photo into the video, so it turns things into like a tiny little world that you're looking at after it finishes. And the app makes this whole thing itself too, so you don't have to really do anything. I do want to note a theory that I have about this brand and the progression they're kind of going in. I think the X1 came out and that was market research. They figured out if people will actually buy this thing. They did. They love it. Now that they know it's a success, they can put a little bit more money into developing their own stuff, which was the S1, which came out a little bit later. And then we start to see a little bit of different customization and options in there and things that are unique to Skyrover. So I think now that they're testing out the mini drone market, I hope that means they're going to next go for something a little bit bigger or start testing out like 1-inch sensors. I would go crazy if they started making serious drones. Like anything could compete with an Air 3 or a Mavic 3. I love it. And whoever's making the decisions at Skyrover, whether it's the weirdo table in the lunchroom at DJI that got bullied and decide to leave and make their own company, or if it's DJI wearing a mask like a corgi and pretending it's a different company, I don't know. I don't really care. If we have multiple options on the market, I'm happy. That would be so cool to see them work on something bigger, like a heavier drone over 1-inch sensor.